Have you ever found yourself to be a part of some confusion, some unintended spectacle that wouldn't stop, though you tried to silence it? And after all of the seemingly never-ending embarrassment and confusion, it turned out to be one of the best learning situations that you've ever encountered. Sometimes through utter confusion and chaos, and even pain, a lesson that you didn't expect actually revealed itself. As many of you know, I am serving as the first vice moderator to the Christian Church Disciples of Christ, Pacific Southwest region. My responsibility is to facilitate worship for this year's regional gathering, which I did, which happened in October, and next year's two-day event, the Regional Assembly, which will happen in a place yet to be determined. The theme for this year's event was, I am the PSWR. And the thought was that we disciples in all of our diversity, old, young, black, white, Latino, Asian, gay, straight, however we found ourselves, poor, rich, loud, soft, tap dancing, ballet dancing, whatever we were nonetheless all welcome around Christ's table. So the planning started out with high hopes. I found two powerhouse disciple ministers who had never met. They'd never met each other, and I found them to serve as my on-site worship planners. Our own moderator, Annette Graziani, served on the local arrangements committee with the Riverside First Christian Church and the Oasis Christian Church of Riverside. The region was thrilled. All of a sudden, Little White Chapel was getting calls from the region saying, we have never been this far ahead in our planning before. The worship looks wonderful. What a great team you pulled together, Bill. Our diversity is truly being represented. I was getting phone calls, but I was being called to facilitate meetings rather than just attending them. And the Little White Chapel was inheriting pianos. We had pianos coming at us in every door. We're getting a new sanctuary piano in just a few weeks. And we were just getting, oh my gosh, we were just the center of everything. This year has been quite a heady season. But calling yourself diverse and facilitating diverse leadership can be two different animals. These diverse folk whom you put in leadership positions, these folk whom you saddle with responsibility but no pay, really want to be respected. Surprise, surprise. They do not want to drive all around Southern California going to meeting after meeting, rehearsal after rehearsal, only to find some creative piece that they have worked so hard to shape has been rethought, or worse, has been thrown out by some bureaucratic in-house department head. If I am the PSWR, and you have recognized, if I am the PSWR, and you have recognized me as the PSWR, and you have called me to lead as the PSWR, don't think that I am going to go sit quietly in a corner while you rethink some project for which I have accepted responsibility. That is not diversity. That is same old, same old. The regional gathering was indeed a marvelous affair. It was well attended by hundreds of disciples at a beautiful disciple church, built to hold hundreds, but probably now has an active congregation about the same size as ours. It was 95 degrees that day in Riverside, and probably got to be 100 before the day was over. And right at the zenith of the heat, the hundreds of people using the building with their displays and their PowerPoints and their graphs and their restroom needs blew all of the electrical breakers, not just in the sanctuary, but all over the entire church. So much so that the next day I believe that the church had to worship on the front lawn. Those of you who were there know I'm not making this up. And all of that happened even though someone on the committee, who shall remain nameless, cautioned them, saying that with that many people coming to a lovely old building, a building a lot like Little White Chapel, the region should perhaps bring and use a generator. But what did that person, who shall remain nameless, really know? Just because she or he pastors in an old building where movie shoots are done and generators are required. But that nameless person is not bitter. God is love. God is love. When you ask people to lead, you must let go of your iron grip on leadership and let them lead. You must suffer the birth pangs of participating in diversity. Jesus had led his disciples straight to the temple in Jerusalem, the beautiful temple that had been built by Herod the Great. That temple was built to impress everybody. And with its porches and its huge columns and waterfalls and hanging gardens, impress it did. And a disciple whose name we don't even know, a disciple who shall also remain nameless, came in from the countryside of Nazareth with Jesus, and as they were coming out of the temple, the same temple where Jesus had turned over the tables of people who were making so much money, buying and selling there, but giving no offering towards the alleviation of hunger, or towards education, or the healing of the sick, or the welfare of widows and orphans, or inclusion of the other. This unnamed disciple remarked to Jesus, "Oh, what a beautiful house of God. Oh, what a majestic place." Perhaps that disciple had never been to Jerusalem. Probably no temple like this existed in Nazareth. And Jesus replied, as Sharon read in your hearing this morning, "Regard it well, because not one stone will be left here upon another." This temple is such a beautiful place, Lord. Why does it have to be destroyed? What the evangelist Mark seems to be trying to get us to understand and see is that God has no use for beauty that produces no nourishment for those who are sick and those who are dying. Our sitting president, whom you must know that I love quite unashamedly, said in his remarks after the attack on Paris that this attack is more than an attack on the French. It is an attack on humanity and the universal values that we all share. Yet ISIS extremists believe that through calculated violence, they can bring about the Creator's day of judgment. Convinced that they have a totally just cause, they believe that humankind can control the occurrence of the end of the world. Are our human values really universal? After a millennia of saying who is in and who is out, who is up, who is down, who is pretty and who is ugly, who has rights to the riches of the world and who doesn't, who God loves and who God doesn't love, all of this has led to a fragmentation that seems beyond repair, doesn't it? Where is that universality of which Obama spoke? Jesus Christ founded the church, but Jesus Christ never sat in a pew as a participating Christian, sitting in exclusionary, stay away, you're not welcome judgment of the rest of the world. Jesus never called us to insist on our way at the expense of the way of others. We are called to win others to the way of love. Neither did Jesus, in talking to the woman at the well and others, call us to surrender all that we have and all that we are to an amoral, violent, winner-take-all way of life. Jesus said in this very scriptures, we will hear wars and rumors of wars, but do not be alarmed. Humans' manipulation does not signal the end. It signals the beginning of birth pangs. If you look up Jesus' term, birth pangs, in the dictionary, the definition is the repetitive pain associated with childbirth. The operative word in that definition for me is repetitive pain. What that signals is that the intense recurring of discomfort that a mother deals with means that this child, these ideas are insisting on coming into the world. These ideas cannot be sent back or held off until next month or negotiated with or told to be quiet. We are all just the tips of icebergs with so much more under the surface. We are all, as Steve Hollenbeck pointed out last night, in a process where the world is continually being reborn and born, waiting to unleash some new something that we have not seen before. God and our relationship to God is a myriad of experiences that can never be fully captured or fully explained. In tension together, they all exist. In tension together, you and I exist, and we will continue to exist until the end of time. We all need to handle each other and feel each other and question each other and push against each other and be uncomfortable with each other and be sensitive to each other and listen to each other and teach each other and listen to each other and teach each other and, oh, did I say, and listen to each other and teach each other and love each other and support each other when we don't understand, especially when we don't understand. Where are our borders? Where is our continual discussion? Where are our universal beliefs? Should we be able to invite Muslims to the communion service and be upset when they don't want to partake? Those universal beliefs must be born. How? It is only in the repetitive, painful birth pangs of our living together and even dying together in the church and in the streets, which we seem to become better at doing. Dying in the streets, as Jesus did, that our sensitivity to who God is and who we really are in God and how much we really matter to God and where God is taking us reveals itself. It is only in those painful birth pangs that God's message to us gets born and then gets cherished.